And with that, I'll yield back to balance my time.
Very much, Mr. Burton. And to wrap up our hearing, Dr. Paul is recognized from Texas. Thank you,
Thank
Ron.
you, Madam Chairman. First, I want to thank Mr. Connolly for his comments and his questions, because I believe they were very pertinent, as well as Mr. Berman, because he had some concerns that I've had as well dealing with the obligations under treaty. And I do appreciate the fact that Mr. Gibson has come by my office to discuss these, and we've had our little debates on this, but I do want to follow up with it because I do have the concerns about this obligation. Actually, the way I understand NATO and United Nations is that it still requires, it doesn't say that we automatically go to war. We have to live within our Constitution. We have to come and get the proper authority under NATO and United Nations. Matter of fact, I do believe that it was the League of Nations that failed because it did not require congressional approval, and that's why the American government didn't support it. But nevertheless, I agree that there's a lot of ambiguities, and certainly today, the legal opinion that I just read for the President, that we were obligated in order to maintain the credibility of the United Nations. So they're using this as an authority. Ambiguities, I believe, are very strong here. But I am not sure that adding to the bill and to the War Powers Resolution that we have obligations under treaties, since our treaties are so carelessly interpreted. So I don't want to get too much into this because you've already talked about this a good bit. But let us say that your bill was the law of the land. How would the President have been obligated to act differently when it came to Libya?
Given that the stipulations, declaration of war, authorization of force, or a national emergency by attack upon the United States, its possession, or armed forces, or imminent threat of attack was not present, the President would have had to have come here and received the assent from the American people by way of their representatives.
But could you not have said that without your phrase, obligations of treaty? That doesn't give you that information, right?
It's possible. The reason why I have put it in the bill is because I don't think that this has been discussed enough in our discourse. That we have, the American people, we have given our word in 7 different pacts between 1947 and 1960, even though there shall be a vote consistent with our constitutional procedures. Let's recognize how weighty that vote would be. We would be essentially voting whether or not we're going to stick by what we said we were going to do. So, I mean, I think you would agree that that would be a difficult vote to vote no.
Well, I have trouble with it because I think there's going to be more ambiguities. You know, I stated earlier that I don't even like the War Powers Resolution because I think it undermines the Constitution and congressional authority and hasn't done well for us. But the one part of it that it was intended to protect the Congress, and the reason the presidents all consider the War Powers Resolution unconstitutional because they want more power, and that is the requirement to report back. So I actually am concerned about removing the fact that they are required to come back in. So if we raise the ambiguity level by saying we can go to war under an interpretation of a treaty, then all of a sudden that we don't have this extra protection probably makes my case for why do we have this War Powers Resolution, but I don't think that strengthens the congressional position by removing that requirement.
Well, let me clarify. Section 3 of the War Powers Act is retained. It's sections 5, 6, and 7 that are deleted. In Section 3, the President reports within 48 hours, given that he is in compliance. That is not being deleted. It's the reporting requirements subsequent to that, the 30, the 60, the 90-day reports that are considered really not relevant anymore. It's the Section 3 that's affirmed. So let me just offer you one thing, sir, is that my sense is that you're more concerned with the treaties than you are necessarily about the bill. And that may be a fair point and something that a new generation of leaders can discuss. But I just want to raise the level of consciousness that the American people in their former leaders gave their consent to certain things that certainly would come before a vote. But again, the difficulty in that vote, given the fact that the American people gave their word. Now, one last thing, sir, and I wanted to say is that just as it's important that we dialogue here, Democrats and Republicans, the American people coming together and having this conversation, this won't work unless we get the president to sign it.
Right.
That's part of the reason why we're here today, is that we need to work with the president to make sure that he agrees to this. And you may say, well, why would the president agree to this? I mean, this would limit his powers. The point is that given our current status today, it benefits no one. Here we are having this hearing because the administration, it's unclear whether or not they're on constitutional grounds. I would think that the president, whomever it is, would be interested in bringing clarity to the situation. And that's why I think it's important that we all work together and we work with the administration to come to an agreement about where we should be on war powers in relation to the Founders' intent.
Madam Chairman, my time has expired, but may I have one short question?
Without objection.
Thank you. I would like to ask Mr. Rooney this question. I know you deferred and didn't want to particularly discuss Mr. Gibson's bill, but since you've been a professor of constitutional law, I think it'd be nice to have your opinion. That phrase that he wants to add into about obligations under treaties, would you care to make any comment about that?
Yeah, certainly. I think that that there obviously is mention of that in the Constitution, and with regard to what you were asking before, one of the concerns that I have certainly with the way that this president has moved forward, and some of the comments that have come out of the administration that deal with kind of like the new way that we're going to go to war in the future under the Obama doctrine is if it's small, humanitarian, we have NATO. There's no need for Congress to get involved. And somehow, to go to your question, that trumps what our role is. That concerns me greatly. But again, as I said before, those words have been used by prior administrations. This humanitarian idea was used by Clinton. So we're not in uncharted territory, and possibly, new legislation that trumps the War Powers Resolution might bring clarity. But I think that, what my resolution simply says is just, let's act within accordance of the law. If the president took the time to follow the law when it came to notifying us within 48 hours, then obviously he has some interest, as Representative Gibson said, in following the law, but it's where we go from there that we always sort of have the wheels come off. And so I would just say that, if we don't continue to assert ourselves, of course we have the power of the purse in the end, but, I think that we shouldn't stop this fight just because we do or don't like the War Powers Resolution and what it says therein.
Thank you.
I thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, Mr.